What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, September 2nd. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league. We have just one significant IL placement to discuss, and that's outfielder Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who was placed on the 15-day IL with a torn ACL. Pretty tough news for Gurriel and the Diamondbacks. Gurriel is obviously done for the season, and that will open up some playing time at DH and in the outfield in the Arizona desert. Jordan Lawler is probably the biggest benefactor in playing time, as the Diamondbacks will have alternative usage of the DH role, and Blaze Alexander will likely see more playing time in the outfield, opening up third base for Lawler. In terms of transactions, second baseman Nick York was recalled from the minors by the Pirates. He was the 17th overall pick in 2020 and is the Pirates' number 11 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. He made his debut last year, but his prospect star has really fallen off this year as his power has dwindled and the strikeouts have increased, though he did bat .287 with 7 homers, 17 steals, and a 103 WRC plus at AAA this year, and York is expected to be on the short side of a first base platoon with Spencer Horwitz. Next, we have starting pitcher Sawyer Gipson-Long, who was recalled from the minors by the Tigers to start versus the Mets on Tuesday. He tossed 4 innings, allowing 5 hits and 6 earned runs, walking 2 while striking out 3, inducing 9 whiffs with 26% CSW across 70 pitches. And Gipson-Long will get the Yankees in the Bronx up next. I don't think I'm starting him there, especially after the struggles he had on Tuesday. Next, we have starting pitcher Tyler Wells, who made his long-awaited return from a UCL revision and brace augmentation surgery. He was activated from the 60-day IL to make his season debut in San Diego. Wells looked pretty solid, tossing 5 innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 earned runs, while walking nobody and striking out 4, inducing 11 whiffs with 29% CSW across 85 pitches. And Wells will get the Pirates up next, and after the success we saw here against a pretty solid Padres club, I am pretty interested in starting Wells versus the Pirates in his next start. And lastly, we have shortstop Ha-Seong Kim, who was activated from the 10-day IL after dealing with back inflammation, being released by the Rays and ultimately claimed by the Braves. He is expected to take over as the everyday shortstop for the Braves, which will send Nick Allen to the bench. So Ha-Seong Kim getting a big boost to his playing time moving to Atlanta. In terms of news, starting pitcher Caden Dana is expected to be recalled from the minors by the Angels to start today in Kansas City. Starting pitcher Joey Cantillo is also expected to be recalled today from the minors to start in Boston for the Guardians. And on the opposite side of Cantillo, starting pitcher Kyle Harrison is expected to be recalled from the minors to pitch in bulk relief today versus the Guardians. Harrison was one of the what was part of the return package for Rafael Devers when the Red Sox traded him to the Giants earlier this year. This will be his Red Sox debut. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had just 14 games on our slate. We'll start off with our hitters, leading off with outfielder Trent Grisham, who helped the Yankees to win in Houston, going 2 for 4 with 2 runs, a home run, and 4 runs batted in. It was his 29th homer of the year, and it traveled 358 feet at 100 miles per hour. And Grisham's breakout campaign has been remarkable. Not only has he made huge strides with his plate discipline, sporting career bests in strikeout rate and walk rate, but Grisham also has produced incredible batted ball metrics with a career high 15% barrel rate and above average in-zone contact rate at 89%. Curiously, Grisham hasn't topped 110 miles per hour with his exit velocity this year. Instead, he's made the most of his batted balls by pulling over 50% of them, which has allowed him to take advantage of the short porch in New York. However, Grisham has performed much better on the road and has been on an absolute tear recently, belting 8 homers with a WRC plus north of 200 across his past 13 games, which has helped him approach his first 30-homer campaign. Leading off for the Yankees hasn't been as much of a boon to Grisham's run production numbers as you'd expect, but this newfound power will make Grisham a coveted fantasy asset in next year's fantasy drafts. Next, we have outfielder Andrew Benintendi, who helped the White Sox to win in Minnesota, going 4 for 5 with 3 runs, 2 home runs, and 5 runs batted in. He's up to 17 home runs now. First one traveled 398 feet at 107 miles per hour, and the second one went 406 feet at 104 miles per hour. Benintendi looked cooked after inking a 5-year, $75 million deal with the White Sox ahead of the 2023 campaign, the largest contract in franchise history, and proceeding to bat .262 with just 5 homers in a severely underwhelming debut campaign in Chicago. Benintendi proved he wasn't absolutely washed with a bounce back last year, trading average for power and batting .229 with 20 homers. It's been more of the same this year as Benintendi has batted .245 and is approaching 20 home runs. The difference is that this year it's much more deserved, as a career high 10% barrel rate points to better exit velocities and much more ideal launch angles, which supports this increased power. Benintendi continues to sell out for power, sporting the highest launch angle and fly ball rate of his career. He's also pulling the ball more than ever, and it's actually paying off without being a huge detriment to his contact ability. Benintendi remains someone to roster only in deeper leagues, but he's doing his best to make his contract not look like a complete dud. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Tuesday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Mitch Ferris, who helped the Angels to win in Kansas City, tossing 5 innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 run while walking 2 and striking out 3. He induced 6 whiffs with 16% CSW across 70 pitches, and Ferris looked pretty decent in his MLB debut, holding the Royals to just 1 run across 5 frames, thanks to an underwhelming 3-pitch mix. The southpaw fits the mold of lefties who found success with mediocre heaters and plus changeups this year, and on Tuesday, we witnessed Ferris spot 90-mile-per-hour heaters up in the zone for a pair of whiffs and 19% CSW, while keeping changeups down to the tune of 4 whiffs and 16% CSW. Sliders were thrown in the zone for 71% strikes, allowing him to keep his slow ball out of the zone without relying heavily on his heater. Ferris's breaker returned just 7% CSW, as it was constantly put into play or fouled off. And ultimately, Ferris's stuff doesn't really get me excited, and I don't really trust the Angels coaching staff to get the most out of him this year. It's not even like he was spectacular in the minors either, pitching to a 4.27 ERA in 23 appearances at Double-A as a 24-year-old. I will not be turning to Ferris in his next start versus the Mets. And lastly, we've got Cade Cavalli, who helped the Nationals to win it against the Marlins. He tossed 5 innings, allowing 4 hits and 2 earned runs while walking 1 and striking out 6. He induced 8 whiffs with 31% CSW across 75 pitches, and our streamer of the day came through as Cavalli took advantage of a weak Marlins lineup, pairing his lethal hammer curve with his upper 90s fastball. The heater found a lot of success as the Marlins were passive enough to watch it for 8 called strikes and 44% CSW, while his curveball failed to dominate with just a pair of whiffs and 18% CSW, forcing Cavalli to rely more heavily on the rest of his arsenal, which featured a sinker, cutter, and changeup. The sinker and cutter gave Cavalli ancillary strike pitches for him to turn to, so he didn't only throw 4-seamers to get ahead in counts, while changeups acted as an effective pitch against left-handed batters, returning 40% CSW. I absolutely love Cavalli's stuff, but the lack of command makes him tough to trust from start to start. However, with a rematch in Miami up next, I'm good turning to Cavalli there. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Tuesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Dennis Santana worked around a run to record his 12th save. Jeff Hoffman pitched a scoreless ninth for his 30th save. Jose Ferrer recorded his 6th save with a perfect ninth. Garrett Clevenger pitched a perfect ninth for his 2nd save. Daniel Palencia recorded his 22nd save with a scoreless ninth. Jojo Romero pitched a scoreless ninth for his 6th save. Ryan Walker recorded his 13th save with a perfect ninth, and Taylor Ricci pitched a 2-inning save, his 2nd of the year. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Cade Smith allowed 3 runs, pitching the eighth down by 1. He entered in a jam and was not only unable to escape it, but allowed a lot of runs in the process. Kenley Jansen pitched a hitless ninth up by 4 after the Angels put up an insurance run in the top half, ruining his save. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on PitcherList.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Wednesday, September 3rd, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games. The first game of the day will begin at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure to get your lineups set before then. My matchup of the day is Aaron Nola versus Jose Quintana. Usually I have a pretty obvious choice for matchup of the day, but this one was hard to find a good one. Nola has been not great this year, and Quintana hasn't been spectacular, but both of these guys are capable of having great outings. And we've got two teams that are headed for the postseason in the Phillies and Brewers, so it should be fun to watch these two teams square off. In terms of probable starters, we've got 5 guys in the auto starts tier, including Nola. We've also got Shohei Ohtani in Pittsburgh, George Kirby in Tampa Bay, Eury Perez in Washington, and Shane Bieber in Cincinnati. Our probably starts tier has 2 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 14, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Ryan Bergert versus the Angels. It's not super safe here, but Bergert hasn't allowed more than 2 runs in any single outing this year. I say it's not safe because at any point that could go the other way. So I'm not super confident in Bergert's stuff either, but the Angels lineup isn't super devastating, and it's possible Bergert goes out once again and gets you a quality start. I'd also keep an eye out for Zebby Matthews versus the White Sox. The White Sox lineup has been much better in the second half, and Zebby hasn't really had that breakout start. We've been waiting for him, but he does have really good stuff, and the White Sox lineup is pretty streaky, so maybe he can take advantage of them on Tuesday. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd be looking at Marlins hitters versus Mitchell Parker and his 5.94 ERA in Nationals Park. I'd also be targeting Orioles and Padres hitters in Petco Park. That's because we have a pair of pitchers with ERAs north of 5 in Cade Povich and his 5.04 ERA, and Nestor Cortez and his 5.06 ERA squaring off. I'd also target Cubs hitters versus Bryce Elder and his 5.85 ERA in Wrigley Field. And lastly, pretty self-explanatory, I'll be targeting Giants and Rockies hitters in Coors Field. Robbie Ray will be taking on Herman Marquez in that one. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Jeff Hoffman has pitched in 3 of the past 4, but so has Seranthony Dominguez. So Yariel Rodriguez could be the go-to option for a save out of Toronto. Kenley Jansen has pitched in 3 of the past 4, so if the Angels want to give him the day off, Reed Detmers should be the closer. Jose Ferrer has pitched 3 days in a row, and Cole Henry has pitched in back-to-back days, so we may see one of Clayton Beeter or PJ Poulin get a shot at a save for the Nationals on Wednesday. And lastly, Daniel Palencia has pitched in 3 of the past 4, so we could see Andrew Kittredge get a save opportunity for the Cubs on Wednesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to PitcherList.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.